These are 6 signs of emotional growth. Now, whether you're in the very beginning or in the midst of your emotional healing journey, this is going to be relevant. This is going to be a powerful guide for you to truly know if you are actually within that emotional healing state, or you're just suppressing or repressing and calling it healing when you're not truly dealing with those internal states. And when you start to actually and truly heal, when you start to walk those steps, when you start to grow emotionally, you will see that your character begins to change. There'll be attributes or ways that you go about life that aren't as they used to be. So I just want to take this time out to go through 6 signs, very clear signs of emotional growth. So the first one is taking responsibility for your own emotions. Now, we're raised in a culture and a society that feeds us this idea that we need to cater towards other people's emotions, everybody else's emotions but our own. And there comes a certain time within your own emotional healing journey where you discover that this is futile, right? Trying to manage other people's emotions is close to impossible. And if you try to do it for everybody, you can never truly satisfy anybody. And in the process, you're actually neglecting yourself. So once you start living from a state of mind and moving in that consciousness, moving in that awareness that it is not your job to coddle other people's emotions, then you are truly emotionally growing. Because the reason we often do it is because we want others to feel comfortable around us so we can feel comfortable. And I'm not necessarily saying that, you don't care about other people's emotions. That's a very different thing. What I'm saying here is trying to manage or manipulate other people's emotions so that we feel better in their company. At least that's the core reason why we do it. Number 2 is you choose peace over pettiness. Now, this one could go for a multitude of things, not just pettiness, but you choose peace over any type of chaotic mentality, over any type of chaotic actions of your own or others. Therefore, if something comes up in your external environment, let's say you're caught up in an argument with an individual, you choose your peace rather than the pettiness. So instead of trying to win an argument with somebody who is hell bent on winning that argument and there's no true fruit, like nothing's going to come from that, there's no benefit to it, you would rather stick to your peace. When people try to call you into chaotic situations, instead of jumping into those trying to please and appease other people, you choose your peace, right? Instead of trying to be petty or trying to get back at people, you would rather reserve your peace because you understand the value of that peace. Number 3 is you do not hold grudges because you know it costs too much. So this one I know it's obviously not a simple or easy one for almost all of us, right? It's easy to hold on to resentments. It's easy to hold on to bitterness and hold on to the things that people did to us. And when I talk about forgiveness, I don't look at it from this perspective of doing it because a book said you should, but rather because it is a benefit to the person who forgives, right? If you hold on to something, you're holding on to the past. If you hold on to a transgression that somebody did to you and you stay bitter and resentful around it, you're the only one who continues to repeat that trauma within your own consciousness. So in order to free yourself, the best option is to let it go, is to forgive. And so when you are emotionally growing, you are more easily able to observe yourself from kind of a third person view to see that you're holding on to certain grudges, certain resentments, and to let those go for your own benefit. Number 4 is you do not let the words and actions of others control you. Now, this one is huge. And, for some of us who view ourselves as more, peaceful or calm exterior wise, etc., we might fool ourselves into believing that we're not controlled by the words and the actions of others. However, even if you're just changing and altering the way in which you act to make somebody else feel better or feel some type of way or think some type of way about you, that is the equivalent. The more obvious version is if somebody says something, you blow up, right? You react and you become rageful or you become deeply saddened or whatever it may be. That's the most obvious version of being controlled by somebody's actions and their words. But there is a lot more subtlety, there's more nuance in it, and there's a deeper state of it when we start to kind of shift our character based on what other people do and say. So once you are in a state of true emotional growth, you start to witness yourself kind of Like, as opposed to taking people's words and actions so personally, you start to distance yourself from the meaning of those actions and words, from your own state of being, and you allow them to be separate from you, right? And when you're in that state, like, it's very, very obvious. Maybe right now, if you're not in that place, it might not make much sense to you. Maybe you're so controlled by other people, so manipulated by external circumstances, externally focused or externally centered, that this almost seems unrealistic or almost foolish to you. But once you start to find yourself in a space of healing, it becomes a night and day difference as far as where your motives truly are. Are your motives based on somebody else and what they do and what they say, or within your own true inner voice? Number 5, you reflect before responding, and instead of being reactive. So it's the difference between responsiveness and reactivity. One person who is conscious and aware of their own actions is going to observe their actions. They're going to have a certain level of awareness about it. So as opposed to reacting or allowing an emotion to overcome them and taking action from that place, they're going to take a step back, observe themselves, feel the anger going through their body, feel whatever emotion that it is that shows itself at that very moment. And instead of acting from that emotional state, they're going to respond how they desire to, what they believe they're most aligned with. And when I say this, I'm not talking about suppression, like where you pretend that there is no emotion, you bury it deep, and it basically starts to project itself in other ways. What I'm speaking of is you still see and witness the emotion in you, right? And you see it flow through you, and you recognize that something angers you. Sometimes you might even mention that, this makes me feel this way. However, you don't take the action based on the emotion. So somebody who is in a rageful state may react in a way where they get aggressive with somebody. Maybe they start to put hands on them, right? Literally fist fighting, or choking them out, whatever it may be, or even more drastic expressions of that. Whereas somebody who is responsive will feel the rage going through them, but they'll understand where the rage is coming from and where the hurt is truly coming from. They have a deep level of awareness, and this only comes from intentional emotional growth, intentional emotional healing. When we take that journey of the self and the healing of our wounds more seriously than anything else, we'll start to see ourselves become conscious and aware of our very own intentions, of our very own triggers and very own wounds, and the reason why we do things, in order for us to transcend and transform those into positive ways of being. And lastly, we have number 6, which is the acceptance that growth is a journey and not a one-time event, or not an event overall. So what I've noticed and recognized just by speaking to countless individuals around this is most of us have this expectation that, growth is like something happening and then it's done, right? We think to ourselves, okay, I did a week in therapy or a few weeks of therapy, like it's done. Or we think to ourselves, I went through my meditation session, or I went to the seminar, I went to this event, I went, high up into the Alp Mountains, I took ayahuasca, whatever it is, right? Yes, you may have experiences that are catalysts or shift you into a different, level of your healing, or a deeper level of your healing. However, to believe that you are completely done with the journey, completely healed, you are completely whole again, or at least you're acknowledging your wholeness once again, is a deception, and it's honestly destructive. Because when we start to expect an event to do it, then we start to beat ourselves up for not being where we think we should be, or for being triggered in the same ways we were before. I always say, well, this isn't an original quote, but I heard a quote and I apply it to my own life, that, how many times do you brush your teeth in a lifetime? And hopefully it's every day, right? Or how many times do you take a shower in a lifetime? For most people, it is at least once a week, but yeah, at least, once a day for myself. So if that's the case, and that's what I'm doing for my body maintenance, what am I doing for my psychological maintenance, which is far more important than the body will ever be, right? What am I doing for the mind? So therefore, it is my duty to continuously and persistently be in the process of the evolution of my mind, be in the process of, healing and transcending the emotional place that I am right now. And that is the experience or the journey of life. It is not an end in itself. Like, we're not looking to do something and then have an event and then it's done, right? There's a perpetual cycle that we can choose to be a part of. And that's really where life is. So when you're in a stage or in a state of emotional growth, you start to recognize that there is no one-time event, there is no one and done. Instead, you see that there is walking, there are steps taken. Sometimes there are larger steps than other times, but all steps matter equally. All steps are the same. A big time event may occur, but that does not necessarily mean it's more important than the daily gradual steps you take towards your emotional healing. So, those are the 6 clear and telltale signs of emotional growth. I'm going to go through them one more time just to refresh your memory, and then we will wrap this up. Number 1 is you take responsibility for your own emotions. Number 2 is you choose peace over pettiness. Number 3 is you do not hold grudges because you know how much it costs. Number 4, you do not let words and actions of others control you. Number 5, you reflect before responding, or you reflect and think before responding. Therefore, you're responsive and not reactive. And number 6 is you accept growth as a journey and not a one-time event. Now, I do want to invite you into my world. I want you to invite me into your world. If you are somebody who is on this emotional healing journey, if you are in your spiritual evolution right now, I want to get on a call with you. It's going to be a free consultation call where we can build out a strategy for you and see if you are ready for the coaching program we have for the long term. So for anybody who is truly dedicated and committed to this process right now in their life, make sure to click the link in the description below to book a time that works for you, that works for me. We're going to get on the phone, get on that complimentary consultation call, and if everything pans out, you might very well be the next person within our world who has taken the same steps as all of our clients, all of our students, and the individuals who have chosen themselves over the trauma of their past. I appreciate you. I love you. Peace.